The beach stretched out endlessly before him, golden sands meeting the gentle waves of the ocean. The horizon burned with the vibrant hues of a setting sun, a canvas of orange, pink, and lavender melting into the sky. Johnny Depp walked in solitude, his bare feet leaving fleeting imprints in the sand. His loose, windswept shirt clung to his frame, and a scarf dangled from his neck, fluttering in the soft breeze. He held a pensive gaze, his thoughts adrift like the waves that caress the shore. The air carried a weight of nostalgia, as if the beach held the echoes of countless untold stories. Each step felt purposeful, though Johnny himself didn't know where he was heading. This wasn't the first time he had sought solace along this secluded stretch of coastline. The beach had become his refuge, a place to escape the noise of the world and wrestle with the ghosts of his past. The rhythmic crash of waves against the shore was the only sound, a melody that seemed to mirror the ebb and flow of his thoughts. Then, something caught his eye. Amidst the seaweed and scattered shells, a glint of sunlight reflected off glass. He slowed his pace, his brow furrowing in curiosity. There, partially buried in the sand, was an old glass bottle, its surface worn and weathered by time. The cork sealing it appeared intact, and inside, the faint outline of folded paper was visible. Johnny hesitated, crouching down to retrieve the bottle. His fingers brushed against its cool surface, sand slipping away as he lifted it from the ground. He turned it over in his hands, brushing away the grains of sand clinging to its surface. For a moment, he simply stared at it, a strange mixture of curiosity and apprehension bubbling within him. Finally, he sat down on the sand, the waves lapping softly nearby, and worked the cork loose. The faint pop broke the silence, and he carefully extracted the fragile paper within. As he unfolded it, the paper's fragility became evident, its edges crumbling slightly under his touch. But the words, written in ink that had resisted the passage of time, were clear and deliberate. His eyes scanned the first line, and his heart skipped a beat. The letter was addressed to John. Johnny's fingers trembled slightly as he held the letter closer, the fading light casting a golden glow over the delicate script. Was this a coincidence, or was this letter, addressed to a John, meant for him? The thought unsettled him, yet he couldn't tear his eyes away. The words unfolded like a confession. John, I've carried these words in my heart for so long, but life has a way of stealing the moments we think we'll always have. I'm sorry for the pain I caused you, for the distance I put between us. I never got the chance to say this, but if I could go back, I'd hold you one last time and tell you how much you meant to me. A lump formed in Johnny's throat as he read the heartfelt words. The letter was filled with raw emotion, regret, love, and an aching desire to reconnect. The sincerity in the writer's tone pierced through him, striking a chord deep within. He read on, discovering more about the writer's feelings of guilt and their yearning for forgiveness. Each line seemed to resonate with a truth that Johnny had long avoided confronting. The letter wasn't just a message, it was a mirror reflecting the unspoken words and unresolved emotions in his own life. As he read further, he felt an inexplicable connection to the writer. The emotions in the letter mirrored ones he had buried long ago, unresolved feelings tied to people he had lost. Memories began to stir, unbidden and vivid, pulling him back to moments he had long tried to forget. The weight of the letter grew heavier with each word, as though it carried not just the writer's emotions, but his own. The waves continued their rhythmic dance as Johnny sat motionless, the letter clutched in his hands. The words seemed to unravel memories he had locked away, flooding his mind with images and emotions. He thought of his childhood, of a strained relationship with his father. Their bond had been marked by misunderstandings and unspoken words, a chasm that widened over the years. He recalled the final days of his father's life, a time when pride and hesitation had kept him from saying the things he needed to say. The memory weighed heavy on his chest, a regret that had never fully left him. Johnny could almost hear his father's voice, stern yet filled with a quiet love that had always been hard to decipher. He remembered moments when he had wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap between them, but the words had never come. Now the letter seemed to echo those missed opportunities, stirring a longing he thought he had buried. Then there was her, the woman he had loved and lost. Their romance had been passionate but tumultuous, ending abruptly in a whirlwind of anger and silence. He had told himself he would move on, but the unresolved feelings lingered like shadows. Her laughter, her touch, the way her eyes lit up when she was happy, all of it came rushing back. The letter's plea for reconciliation felt like a voice from his own past, stirring a longing to revisit the wounds he had tried to ignore. Johnny's grip on the letter tightened. Was this letter truly meant for him, or was it a message meant to remind him of what he had lost? Either way, it had awakened something within him, a need to confront the ghost that had haunted him for so long. Determined to uncover the origins of the letter, Johnny embarked on a quiet investigation. He started with the local archives in the beach town, sifting through records and speaking to anyone who might have information about the bottle's journey. The mystery consumed him, giving him a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. One day, while wandering through an antique shop, he met an elderly man who seemed to have an affinity for stories of the sea. The man spoke of sailors who, in times of longing and despair, would write letters and cast them into the ocean, hoping the waves would carry their words to someone who needed them. "The sea has a way of connecting souls," the man said with a knowing smile. "Maybe that letter found you because it was meant to." Johnny's search led him to hear stories from locals, tales of similar letters and objects that had changed lives. Each story added a layer to the narrative, showing how unspoken words could create profound connections, even across time and space. He also visited a maritime museum where he learned about the history of messages in bottles and their journeys across oceans. The stories of letters traveling thousands of miles, connecting strangers in unimaginable ways, deepened his fascination. Yet despite all his efforts, the origins of his letter remained elusive. Despite his efforts, Johnny hit dead end after dead end. The origins of the letter remained a mystery, its writer and intended recipient lost to the vastness of the sea. Frustrated yet introspective, Johnny began to realize that the letter's true significance lay not in its origin, but in the emotions it had stirred within him. Standing by the ocean one evening, he contemplated the waves, how they carried stories and secrets, connecting people in ways they could never imagine. The sea, vast and unending, became a symbol of the unspoken words that tied humanity together. Inspired by the letter, Johnny decided to write his own. He poured his heart into the words, addressing the regrets and pain he had carried for so long. He wrote to his father, to the woman he had loved, and to himself. The act of writing was cathartic, a release of years of pent-up emotion. When the letter was complete, he placed it in a bottle and sealed it tightly. Standing at the water's edge, he whispered a silent prayer and released the bottle into the waves. As it drifted away, he felt a sense of peace wash over him, as though he had finally let go of the weight he had carried. Months later, on a distant shore, a young woman found Johnny's letter. Her life had been marked by loss and estrangement, and the words in his letter spoke to her in a way she couldn't explain. Inspired, she reached out to reconcile with her family, finding healing in the process. The story ended with her writing her own letter and casting it into the sea, continuing the cycle. The ripple effect of unspoken words finding new homes became a testament to the power of connection and healing.